It's time for the whole 9 yards. Hello again, everybody. I'm Ralph Ventry with the whole 9 yards on Northeast Conference football. It feels like spring season ended just yesterday, but it's time for more. All 8 NEC teams are competing this fall, and all 8 teams are on the week 1 schedule. So here we go with the opening drive. We'll break up this opening drive into 3 downs, 1 down for each day of games this week. We start with 2 on Thursday. First up, the LIU Sharks are heading to Miami on a business trip. With interim Jonathan Gill making his head coaching debut, LIU will take on an FBS member for the first time since joining the Division I ranks as they visit Florida International of Conference USA. FIU went 0-5 during the 2020 fall season, while LIU notched the program's first 2 Division I wins this past spring. Wagner opens its season on Thursday, too. The Seahawks also take on an FBS member, heading up to Western New York for a date with Mid-American Conference member University at Buffalo. It'll be Wagner's first non-conference game under second-year head coach Tom Masella. It's the Seahawks' 12th time stepping up to the FBS since 2012, and that's the highest frequency of any NEC team. Moving on to second down, there are 2 Friday matchups to track. First, Central Connecticut will attempt to shake off any rust that exists from its 20-month layoff. CCSU contests its first game since the 2019 FCS playoffs as Division II member Southern Connecticut visits a root field for some Friday night lights. A number of key contributors have returned from the 2019 championship team, but the Blue Devils will have a new leader under center and will get our first look Friday night against Southern Connecticut live on NEC Front Row. St. Francis U also takes to the gridiron for the first time since 2019 with a Friday night visit to Ypsilanti. Chris Valerial's Red Flash's first ever FBS opponent will be Eastern Michigan of the Mid-American Conference. EMU hosted aforementioned Central Connecticut in 2019, needing a last-second special teams miracle to secure a win over the Blue Devils. The MAC member will certainly provide a good first test for the SFU Red Flash as they return to competition. It's 3rd and long, and we have 4 Saturday games to cover. First, we'll go up to North Andover, Massachusetts, where Merrimack will host former D2 rival St. Anselm in the season opener. In 2 years since joining the NEC, the MAC has featured a vaunted defensive front with the likes of Corey Hagerman and Nick Lennon, and that should be the case again this fall. This Saturday game should be a beneficial tune-up for Dan Kern's Warriors, who have road dates at Holy Cross and Maine later this month. Now, 2021 NEC spring runner-up Duquesne jumps right into the fire with a visit to Texas Christian in week 1. Jerry Schmidt's Dukes have faced FBS members in past years, but this is their first step up to the Power 5 level. Duquesne's continuity from spring season should help the Dukes return all NEC performers at quarterback, running back, receiver, and much more. They'll go up against some of the best in the FBS. Duquesne at TCU Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Bryant kicks it off with a battle for Ocean State bragging rights. The Bulldogs take the short trip from Smithfield down to Kingston to face URI. It'll be Bryant's first meeting with Rhodey since the Dogs joined the NEC in 2009. This past spring, Bryant leaned heavily on its defense, which allowed a league low 14.5 points per game. We'll have some info on Bryant's offense later in the show. And our last matchup of week 1, it's NEC preseason favorite Sacred Heart. Mark Nofri's Pioneers will host a Saturday night special against Patriot League member Bucknell. The SHU Pios have won each of the last 2 meetings with the Bison. Sacred Heart's 30-10 win in 2019 was powered by none other than running back Julius Chestnut. The 2-time Walter Payton Award finalist scored 3 touchdowns against Bucknell as a sophomore. Now we'll see how he does as a senior this time around. Watch it live on NEC Front Row and the NEC On the Run app. Randy Brochu and Freddie Coleman live from Campus Field for SHU's season opener. Checking in on the NEC stock market next, I'll tell you whose value is on the rise. There's been constant chatter about Julius Chestnut, and rightfully so. But there's another senior running back on the circuit who has earned some attention as well. I'm talking about Bryant's feature back, Daniel Adebaboye. Running with power and good acceleration, Adebaboye averaged 5.9 yards per carry during the Bulldogs' spring season. Adebaboye totaled 445 yards on the ground over a 4-game sample en route to a spot on the All-NEC first team. By all accounts, this preseason, the Canadian-born Adebaboye is prepared to carry the load again when the Bulldogs lift the lid off their 2021 schedule by visiting CAA member Rhode Island. The hard-running Adebaboye has rushed for more than 1,000 yards over the last 13 games. He's ready to go. His stock is on the way up. And after an intense opening drive, our stock rising segment, it's only appropriate to call our Twitter timeout. It's a double look at the tweet sheet here in week 1. First, our old friends at Stats Perform, with Craig Haley again spearheading their FCS coverage. Stats Perform will once again sponsor a weekly top 25 poll, as well as the FCS Legacy Awards program. In the days leading up to kickoff 2021, Haley has provided an overview for each of the 14 FCS conferences, the NEC included, of course. So get to Twitter, follow FCS_stats, and visit the website at theanalyst.com for Stats Performs coverage of the NEC and the football championship subdivision. Our next tweet comes from the NEC in NFL column, and it's because the remarkable journey of Duquesne alumnus Christian Kuntz has culminated with an NFL roster spot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kuntz, a two-time NEC Defensive Player of the Year, he has spent time in a number of NFL training camps. He has played in the AAF and the XFL. Late in the 2020 NFL season, Kuntz signed to the Steelers practice squad. In January, Pittsburgh re-upped him on a futures reserve contract, and Kuntz, a linebacker in college, converted to long snapper at the NFL level. His tireless motor earned him a spot as the Steelers' primary long snapper for the 2021 season. Congratulations to Christian Kuntz and all of the NEC alumni in the NFL. For more on NEC in the NFL, visit the Overtime blog at necovertime.com. Omaha, Omaha, hup, hup. It's time for our NEC Audible. Here's where I share with you something that caught my ear this past week. Today's sound comes from Central Connecticut, where wide receiver Tyshawn James, offensive guard Javon Brown, and linebacker Trey Jones are all back in blue. After winning the 2019 NEC Championship, CCSU opted out of the COVID-altered 2020 season, but its three All-NEC first-team selections stayed the course. James, Brown, and Jones did not submit their names to the transfer portal, and here's why.
Yeah, I had talks with the coaches, like, what do you think if, like, I win the pro type stuff like that? And we were just like, what's best for me is probably to stay at Central. And, like, if you're good, the NFL will find you and stuff like that. So after we had that conversation, there was no more, like, talks of, like, ever wanting to leave, because that was never a thing with me. I never wanted to go. It was just like you see people going there, the success that they're getting. So it's like, what if I did that and stuff like that? But we had to talk. We all were on the same page. We want to win another championship, get another long playoff run. And with that, that was just everything I needed to hear for us to all be together and stay.
We wanted to finish what we started type. And then on the unfinished business, I got hurt the second game. And that's not how I wanted to go out. And I always, like, just how Ty said, we always preach about, like, loyalty. And I couldn't leave this coaching staff and this family, like, all these bonds I have here. I couldn't leave.
There's a sense of unfinished business for these Blue Devils, who are set to open their NEC schedule in week 2 at Wagner. As for week 1, that's all I have today for our show. Thanks again for joining me for the whole 9 yards on NEC football. Enjoy the full week 1 slate, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 days of action-packed NEC football. Don't forget to meet us back here every week this season. For NEC Front Row, I'm Ralph Entry. This is the whole 9 yards.